Marie, I think this is the conversation that the world needs to hear right now.
As if humanity doesn't pay attention to what's really happening. You've got to stay in alignment because that's what's going to help everyone evolve. But I do think there will be people who will be surprised that some of our freedoms will be taken away.
We put our vote in, but that's essentially all we could do.
Right. The strongest law in the universe is free will. Everyone has free will. The psychic has to be neutral, right? And we don't know because
we have no idea.
Right, we don't know what's going to happen.
You're psychic, so you should.
I am psychic. It's complicated. It was a moving target. I think lots of people have different feelings.
I'd like to welcome back to the show returning champion, Marie Manuchehri. How you doing, Marie?
I am lovely, Alex. So lovely to be here.
Thank you so much.
And I love your studio. It's beautiful. The energy's incredible.
Oh,
I just feel, and it's lovely to meet your wife.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like I'm part of the family.
Oh, you are. You are. No, I appreciate you coming. Every time we have a conversation, it's always been enlightening, to say the least. Our first episode did very, very well. Years ago, almost at 1 million now.
Yeah,
so that's great. Back in the day when the show wasn't even as big as it is now, I just love it. So I'm so glad that you were able to come down here.
Thank you.
So as of this recording, we just had a heck of an election here in the U.S., and I think that the very first thing I want to ask you is about the energetic aftermath of what we're going through. Let's just dive right in, because there seems to be a lot of anxiety on one side, joy in another. I mean, it all depends on the side of the fence that you're on.
Right.
But there's a lot. I just want to get your temperature of humanity as we're moving into this next 4 years under this new leadership in the U.S. And I speak about the U.S. like we're the center of the world, but as they say, if the U.S. coughs, the world gets or sneezes, the world gets a flu, because we kind of do ripple.
We do.
We ripple a lot around the world. But by the way, elections happened everywhere around the world this year. And it's been a heck of a change for a year of change, politically and energetically. I felt like this is one of the most interesting years of the 20s, and the 20s have been quite interesting, to say the least.
Right.
So what is the energetic aftermath in your view?
Well, I loved your description about, some people are nervous and scared and some people are happy. So that's kind of the human consciousness, but I look at the energy of what's really going on, right? And it's actually extremely profound. Which I'm even kind of surprised about my experience with it. I think most people know what side of the divide. I'm not quiet about my viewpoints or how I was raised or anything of that nature. And the next day, when I awoken and I already knew what the results were going to be the night before, I was extremely calm and very at peace. My energy was actually very, very high. And I didn't really think about it in terms of the results at all. I had this experience once before where I had traveled to visit a friend, and I was going to a place I really didn't want to go. I'd been there many times. I didn't want to go. I let this person talk me into hanging out with them. And so I'm annoyed, that I was too nice in my nicey nice pattern. And I'm like not happy. And I wake up and I'm in total bliss. And later that day, my friend, who this may seem unrelated, but this young man was, wanted to date her, and she wouldn't date him. And we were all going to meet together for the first time. She goes, I want you to meet him because I don't think he's the right guy for me. I'm like, okay. So he's going skiing. We're not skiers. So we half hiked up this mountain and we're, having fondue together. And I now know why I was in complete bliss, because he was her partner. And he goes to the restroom and she goes, so what do you think? And I'm like, I think you should marry him. She goes, what? I ended up marrying them a few years later. So when I woke up the day after, the election, I'm like, wow, is somebody else getting married? Like, what's going on? I'm in this extraordinary, incredible bliss all day long, which would not be my norm. It certainly wasn't my norm the last time our future president, was
elected.
won. Yeah. And then
Well, that was a shock to everybody.
it was a shock.
To many people, it was a shock this time.
Right, it was. It's not what I thought was going to happen.
Well, I mean, when it
quite
happened
frankly.
in 2016, everyone thought the world was going to come to an end.
Right, it didn't.
And it didn't. Mm-mm. So I think, and then now it's happening, and everyone's going to think the world's coming to an end.
And we don't know because
we have no idea.
Right, we don't know what's going to happen.
You're psychic, so you should.
I am psychic, but I even thought the other person was going to win the election. Right? So,
can I stop you for a second? From a psychic's point of view, and there's been a lot of people who've commented, because on the show we've had a lot of psychics and channelers come in and do predictions, and I try to keep it as broad as possible, but a lot of them said, no, I think this person's going to win or that person's going to win. My understanding of how psychic abilities work is that you're kind of grabbing onto the potential energy that's happening, but something like this was so shifting. At the very, towards the end, it literally could have gone either. It really could have gone either way. Though looking at it now, he won by 4.5 million. He got the popular vote.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty shocking. But the energy for a while though was kind of it could have gone any way. So when you look at a prediction like that,
right.
You're trying to grab onto a moving target, and you're doing a best estimation, right?
But as psychics, we're supposed to be able to predict the moving target, right?
But this was a really intense moving target.
Well, here's what I think.
Tell me.
Yeah, and this is something I work on in my practice. Luckily, I love disease, so I'm very neutral. The psychic has to be neutral. You can't read accurately if you've got some sweat in the game. Mm-hmm. And I worked before I asked the universe who's going to be the next president of the United States. And I asked even before our current president decided not to run. And I was told the person who lost, right? Mm-hmm. And all of this doesn't matter, by the way. Interesting enough, mm-hmm. None of this really matters, which is fascinating and interesting. And I was so surprised because she wasn't even running. I'm like, what? So I thought I had done an accurate read because I spent 2 months loving our future president because I needed to get neutral. And neutrality comes when you can unconditionally love a situation.
Because you're going to be biased if you personally want one candidate or another one to win. So it could skew your own. So that's another reason why some of these psychics and channels, they weren't neutral.
There is a possibility. This doesn't mean this is going to happen, but there is a possibility maybe Kamala will have to be sworn in before our next president moves into office. We don't know if there could be a health situation or something of that nature, which could, if that's true, which I don't know, it was just something that came to me recently.
That'd be interesting.
And then I thought, well, that could have made it even more complicated,
this is a complicated situation.
It's complicated. So to your perception, yeah, it's complicated. It was a moving target. I think lots of people have different feelings, about how the country should be run. And
well, because I wanted. You're the first psychic I've had on the show since the elections, and we have heard some people commenting oh, this person got it wrong or this person got it right or blah blah blah, and I wanted to clarify people because psychics, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my experience throughout the years, psychics do the best they can based on the kind of energy or what they can kind of see, but that is a completely moving target because you're hey, you're going to move to New York and start that job on Wall Street. That's where the energy is heading towards. But something could derail me as the person you're reading and go, oh, but I really want to be an astronaut. I saw Apollo 13 and I got to go. And you just skew off and all of a sudden she didn't know what she was talking about. So it's kind of like a best case estimation.
It is.
What do you think?
Really good psychics should have an accuracy. Mine's in the high 80s. So you want to be really, really accurate. So I did predict even publicly, she's going to win, So when I did the podcast the day after that, I apologized, and I said, hopefully your cortisol levels have been low over these last few months because you thought something else was going to happen if you were on the side of a woman, to be in office. But I also took responsibility for not reading accurately because I'm sure I think you're very kind and it's very lovely, but if this is our profession, then I think
you should probably be batting a little bit better average.
I think so. Yeah.
And I'm trying to be kind about it because it was such a large prediction that literally was a 50-50. And it's not like, is Bobby going to move to New York? That's a small group of people focusing on that kind of, that energy, the family, maybe him, something like that. But this is the world. The world was looking at this event.
True.
And it was in flux. There was moments that it could have gone either way. But so I'd like to hear my next question to you is, though, with this path going the way it's going to go, and it could have gone in either way, what does that mean for humanity's consciousness shift? What are we going to be going through a dark night of the soul?
Yes.
Where do you see this going on a macro level? And then we'll go down to micro, but at macro. We are in a time of great change, and humanity is awakening more and more every day. Mankind needs insights on what is happening to all of us. That is why I'm inviting you to Wisdom from Beyond, a 6-day virtual summit designed to awaken your soul. Experience over 9 hours of soul-expanding channeling sessions led by 6 of the world's most esteemed channelers. Connect with the divine, receive sacred insights, and transform your journey by asking questions directly to the channelers themselves. This is more than just a summit. It is your gateway to understanding the profound shifts happening within and around all of us. Plus, when you sign up, you receive exclusive bonus content to deepen your spiritual exploration. Join us and step into the extraordinary.
Such a great question. I may not answer your question always exactly the way you ask me.
Go for it.
Right? Because my intuition is just in a certain space, but it is my intention
Go for it.
to always answer exactly what you ask me.
Go for it.
So, and you know this because you talk to people all over the world. People are craving the expansion of their soul, craving it. They're craving fulfillment. They're craving joy. They are annoyed and they are very upset and frustrated that their multisensory abilities are not expanding. And in order for humanity to continue on the escalation of evolution, which we are, more so than anybody realizes, people have to have a multisensory awakening like you've had, where it has led you in a completely different part of your life that you never expected. But when you do that, your life becomes wonderful and amazing. There's already people on the planet like yourself and me and other people that you know. We already live in a different reality. We have a very different experience than the majority of the human population. Yeah. Our lives are happier. They're more fulfilling. Things work out well for us. Even if weird stuff happens in our life, there is this really interesting resolution that occurs for us. It's because we're in a different vibration. We're in a completely different frequency. And there are millions of Americans who want to be, and people around the world, of course, too, who want to be in a different vibration and frequency. But for whatever reason, they aren't allowing themselves to let go of probably a profound, very old wound. A very, very old wound that they're protecting. They're unconscious of it. They don't know that it's there, and they're protecting it. They're creating their life so that it's this protected shell of some
safety.
And when someone does experience a dark night of the soul, which I'm sure you have, I have, it's very personal.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. It's very scary, It's very primal. And when it happens, what you don't know at the time, because you think everything's going to, do we swear on your podcast?
We try not to.
Okay, all right. So it's going down the what.
It's going down the toilet.
Yeah, it's going down the toilet.
Yes.
And it's an awful feeling. It truly is. It's very depressing. It's very dark. You don't know how to talk to other people about it. Nobody understands what you're going through. Right. It's very isolating in a lot of ways. At the same time, there is this, what's happening, it's very energetic. It's a cellular energetic perception. A very old part of our perceived perception is dissipating significantly. And we can't force this thing to happen, by the way. You can't force it. And
you can't control it. You cannot control this.
And you don't know when it's going to happen either.
You have to kind of let go.
And you do.
And it's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Yeah, it's very terrifying. When I had mine, I locked myself in, the moment of it, the beginning of it, in a closet off my bedroom because my kids were little. And I wailed and sobbed for hours. I'm surprised nobody came to find me. Nobody knocked on the door. I think the universe protects us in these moments because the universe knows that you're moving closer to your God consciousness. You're moving closer to your magnificence. And humans want this. They want this, but they're afraid to let go of the illusion, whatever that is. It's different for everyone. So there's this major cellular activity going on where this old lysis is occurring, this dissolving. And we begin to start to align to our higher self. Even in that moment, you can feel an alignment because even in the deep sobs, I was very hopeful. There was a hopefulness. So there's this weird separation that occurs that people are already feeling separate. They just don't know that they are. And when you start to have the dark night of the soul, you begin to actually feel the universe and you start to feel loved and appreciated. It could take months to get through it. Or years, it could. And I also think that at some point, and I see what I mean, like I don't think I'm answering your exact question.
Go for it. No, I love this.
Okay. That even when I was having my experience, and I've heard other people say this too, I didn't even know what the dark night of the soul was. I'd never heard of the phrase, but I started to hear about it. I read it in a book. Someone asked me a question about it. And so I started to recognize that whatever was happening to me was good for me. And it probably took 5 years before my whole life changed. So it didn't change instantaneously. Little by little, it started to change. But when you're having a cellular upgrade of your subatomic particles and moving into a higher frequency and a higher vibration, your outside world has to match your internal frequency. And that's what's going to be happening to humanity.
So in other words, you can't be part of a criminal organization and be enlightened, generally speaking. It'd be a different. I'm using that as an example. Kind of like the people around you, the environment around you wouldn't match that energetic level of a yogi or a walking master.
True.
It just wouldn't connect. Kind of like magnetism. Like those forces just repel literally each other. Does that make sense?
Yes, completely. And that's why people who've gone through a dark night of the soul, they change their life. They change their friends.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
People around them.
Right.
Yeah.
They change their friends. They may change their personal relationships. They change their job. And they can't stop the process. And at the same time, it's exciting because they start to see the world differently. They have they have an energetic view now. They have a vibrational consciousness. And that's what people want. All the people who watch your beautiful podcast, who are really beautiful people, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing people. Thank you.
They are pretty amazing.
Thank you for attracting them. This is what they want.
So when you say that humanity is going to be going through this, what do you mean? Because my dark night of the soul, I had multiple ones. The one for this show was light. There was a moment of scariness of like, I launched the show because Connie, my spirit guide, Living, she's been on the show multiple times, told me to do the show, and I didn't even understand why to do it. It made no sense. Still makes no sense, in my opinion. But then I pulled back because I was scared of losing my old world, and then I literally had that moment where I just kind of just took the leap and just said, "Hey, I'm gonna go." And I had a conversation with God and said, "Hey, I hope that you will take care of me and my family, but I will do what you're asking, and I will blindly go into the dark and just go for it." And that's what I've done. That was a small night of the dark night of the soul. I had another one when I was 27 after making a movie for the mob, almost making a movie for the mob, but that's another story for another shot podcast.
Great story.
But those are very personal. So when you say a dark night of the soul, how can a collective kind of go, if there, I mean, it's going to be obviously broad strokes. And we've been talking about this, even I think in our former conversations, what's coming is not going to be particularly fun for everybody, but it's a necessity for us to move forward.
It is,
correct?
Right? Because a lot of people, you and I have always been interested in spirituality, and we've read books about it, and we've learned how to meditate. And so we allowed ourselves to move in it with not maybe such an intense global pressure. So there's a pressure cooking that happens before you kind of explode or move into a different frequency and vibration of consciousness. And so most likely what's going to happen, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen, because the last time we had a political situation that we will have in the future, we were also distracted by a pandemic. So a lot of things changed, significant things changed, but we also had a leadership that was very disorganized, and people weren't staying in their departments. There was it was very crazy. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be that crazy now because they're organized now. It's going to be a lot more organized. So one of the things so people are going to be shocked by the situations that occur. Like one thing that could happen, and again, I don't want to say I know this for sure, mass deportation could occur, right? Mm-hmm. Where what would it be like if your neighbors who you've known for years, right? And maybe their children were born here, but perhaps the parents weren't, and maybe they're not here legally. We have millions of people in our country that have been here
around the world, and any major,
right?
First world country, yeah.
Right. And so their parents could be picked up, which does happen anyway. This does happen, but it doesn't happen that often. And by
the way, and I want to just clarify something. That just doesn't happen under a Republican.
No, I'm saying it happens already.
I mean,
right? It already happens.
It happened. I mean, there was a former president who shall remain nameless, who was the porter in chief. Yet he was very popular in the U.S. and fan or not fan, but it's happened all the time. It's not like a new
But we're
thing.
talking about massive, right? So yes, my daughter went to school with a young boy. They were in junior high, whose parents were taken in the middle of the night. And so those are the type of things that could be one of the things that happens, because we don't know for sure what's going to happen. Of course, there could be a major change nationally in terms of women's health, right? And so Money could definitely change. There's many things that are going to change that are going to shock people. Like they didn't think that could happen.
Well, then doesn't that go with the theme of what's been happening to all of our institutions for the last 50 years, I would say, not 150 years? So like when the scandals broke in the Catholic Church.
Oh, right.
No one would ever thought that would be possible. I mean,
I see what you're saying. Well,
most people thought of that as an infallible, at least from the Catholic, as a recovering Catholic, I thought it was infallible. Hollywood, the Me Too movement. Oh my God, in Hollywood and in the entertainment world.
That was
just like, my God. So there's things they like and now what's going on with Diddy, and that whole thing, and the enablers in that scenario. No one would have thought that was even possible.
So more things like that.
So there's a ton of that stuff coming.
Right.
I think the Diddy thing's going to be
I agree.
It's even begun.
Right, and they know it. They already know.
Oh,
they know everything. Yeah, it's going to be shocking. It's going to be incredibly shocking.
There's a lot of people who've left the country are now living in Europe.
But that's not going to save them.
I know.
That's not going to save them. So it's going to feel very personal when someone starts to have a dark night of the soul, which really means a collapse of how they thought their life was, right? So they thought, this is how my life is, this is how the world works, this is how my family organizes and connects, and we're fine. So there's going to be a major collapse in that for more people than ever.
But that is what we need.
Yes.
As a general saying here, that we as a person need that kind of structure. We need to make everything fit in a box and make things, this is our programming. This is how we see the world.
Right.
That's based on the programming that we got as first 7 years. So religious, non-religious, good, bad, all those things were programmed into us. And then that changes the view of our world. That's why we have so many conflicts around the world, because everyone's programming is different and it conflicts with everyone else's, until you can elevate beyond the programming and just go, can we just start with human?
Right.
Can we just start? I don't care what color you are, religion you are.
Of course.
I was listening to a yogi on our streaming platform on a movie called the Hare Krishna movie, and he was saying that all the murders that happened during there was a revolution in India. I didn't even know about this revolution. That it was Indian versus Pakistan, and all of the death that happened, Muslim, Hindu, all that. And he goes, when they were all dead, no one could recognize who was a Hindu and who was a Muslim.
Which that's beautiful as a
It's
resolution.
beautiful and profound
Right.
and yet horrific at the
Right.
same time.
Right.
So it was just such a perfect idea, because we get caught up with this, like, oh, you're on the left or you're on the right, or
Right.
you're this color or you're that
Right.
color. It's ridiculous.
Well, and, for the first time ever, I realized that none of it matters. Like,
None of it.
I mean, if I had never voted in the past, my mother would have killed me, right? Now I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to vote next time. I'm like, not because I'm an irresponsible person or whatever. I'm not thinking about humanity, but it's really not about that. It's about something bigger. And humanity has asked for this.
So let's go into that. Let's unpack that.
Okay.
Yes.
Humanity.
What do you mean? How dare you?
I know.
How dare you, Marie, say that we have asked for what has happened to us and what is going to happen to us?
I know. And I'm sorry to say it. Honestly, my humanness is sorry to say that. My awareness is celebrating, right? Celebrating. Just like when someone has a dark night of the soul, which is something people really need to start recognizing that is going to be happening. After it's over with, because when you're in it, it's not fun.
Oh, no.
It's uncomfortable. You don't know what's going to happen. It's scary as heck.
Very.
And then when it's over with, you don't care how you got there. You don't care one single bit, like you're wonderful, about people not seeing themselves as separate as others, right? You don't care. You're grateful. You're incredibly, incredibly grateful. So to help us through this process, it is important for people to start paying attention to their energy, their subatomic particles. People have to really start paying attention to vibration and frequency. It's critical.
It's fundamental.
It is fundamental. It's actually what keeps people safe, if you will, and keeps people healthy and keeps people in alignment, so that if someone needs to move out of their house or move out of their neighborhood or something of that nature, because again, we don't know what's going to happen, they will know where to go. They'll know the safe house to go to, the right people to connect with, the right hospital to go to, or whatever needs to happen. You will be shown in frequency where to go. Like when, after wailing in the closet, I ended up working for a hospital where the CEO had people like Gary Zukav and Wayne Dyer speak publicly in huge auditoriums that was hosted by the hospital, and anyone could go. It was amazing. So I changed my frequency, my vibration, and was held at the collective consciousness that I was moving towards. And that's what will happen. And less difficult things will happen to people who will pay attention to their frequency and their vibration and start to follow it.
It was very interesting that I had my kids went to go play a sport. And in that sport, they've been learning that sport and growing at it and so on. But the league that they were in was for beginners, essentially. So everyone was kind of the same thing, though you could tell that them and a few of their friends were at a little bit higher level, athletically and skill set. But then we took them to another league who is much more serious, much more intense. And when we saw the tryouts for it, we walked in, my wife and I looked, we're like, uh-oh. This is these guys are no joke.
They're not playing around.
They're not playing around, and the caliber of people that were there trying out it was like night and day. And all of a sudden, my kids go in, and we're like, "Who are these?" They were just bam, 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 bam. They were just hitting things, and it was like their level just jumped because they were capable of it, but they weren't being tested. They weren't being pushed. They weren't around others at that same level that now they have to rise to the occasion.
Right.
And that's why I always tell people, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You never want to be the smartest person in the room, because that means you're not growing.
Right.
You always want to have someone else there who you can learn from and grow from each other. And it's exactly the example that what we're talking about now, that if you want to raise your frequency, you need to be surrounded by media, by people, by your home, your environment, your city, wherever you're at has to be at the level that you want to eventually be at. Does that make sense?
It needs to feed you, right?
Yes.
Because if your energy is depleted, if your vibration is low, all the things that we don't want in life, exist in low vibration. All the things we want in life exist in high vibration, and frequency is holding the vibration. So we're either holding the vibration at a low frequency, which is the experiences we don't want to have,
Fear, a lot of fear.
Fear, tremendous amount of fear, or we're holding our vibration as much as we can, even through challenging times, at a high frequency, so that we attract solutions that are desirable.
But the thing I love what you just said is hold
it.
Holding frequencies, because even if you're here, you might have a moment of happiness that pops you up. You could have a day, you have a date or something, and you got there. But to hold it is the key, because then you go right back down, and you're like, oh God, that day was great. Oh, I wish I could. Well, why isn't your day every day like that?
Right.
Why can't you do that all the time? If you're not living in lack, you're not living in fear, you're not living in those kind of negative frequencies, because you're just continuously attracting that. And I know it sounds woo-woo, I'll be honest with you. I mean, as I talk out loud sometimes, I'm like, this is some secret law of attraction BS kind of crap that I'm listening to here. But yet the more I experience it myself, I'm getting it.
Right.
And, the trajectory of this show and this company and what we've been doing in this 3.5 years.
Wow.
In 3.5 years.
Well, you're here to help the masses, right?
Well,
and you know that. You know that. That's your job. You and your family have agreed to allow us to follow you so that we can be inspired and let people have more moments of connecting to that higher vibration so that they can create the frequency. But I know what you're talking about, because one of the things I teach all of my clients and all of my students is you have to find out what brings you personal joy. That is a high vibration. And I know when I tell them initially, they're probably rolling their eyes or, whatever, you're happy, you have a good life, whatever. Well, it's because I work at it. I work at maintaining my vibration every single day.
Oh, by the way, it's not easy. My vibration is not high all the time. I have children.
Right, of course, yeah.
It's not high all the time. It's better than where I was.
I would agree. Your vibration's really good.
Well, I appreciate that, but because my children are not around. But even in moments where, as a human being, someone cuts you off, where before, if you would get angry, I would hold on to that anger for the day. It would ruin my day.
Right.
Where now the recovery, if I get even angry at something like that, the recovery time is very quick for me. It moves much quicker. Like you go, oh, I'm down, boop, and you pop back up, as opposed to the opposite. Oh, I feel good. Oh, I'm back down here. So I'm living up here, and I occasionally dip down, but I pop up really quickly because I guess where I'm at doesn't make sense down here.
Well, because it doesn't feel good, right? And it doesn't make sense. You're not going to get what you need, and you know it now. Like
on this level,
you know it.
Not here,
right? Well,
here.
The mind is never going to understand spirituality and consciousness and awareness, and that's part of the problem with humanity. Humanity is waiting for their logical mind to go, oh, well, that makes sense. That will never, ever happen. The logical mind is here to help humans make sure I got the right tea as we sat down, that I have a glass of water. It's on a coaster. People don't know, but I have a blanket on my lap because I'm in Texas and there's air conditioning. I live in the Northwest. My fireplace would be on right now, right? It's different, right? So that's what the logical mind's for. And we need it because we have to make hundreds of decisions every single day, what clothing to wear, what food to eat.
But that's part of this programming, of the code of this simulation that we're in.
Right.
That's the rules.
That is the rules. But humanity has gotten very confused. They think that they can't believe in something or allow themselves to have the experiences that we want them to have until their logical mind is in agreement. And that will never happen. In my practice, when I'm giving, or when I'm teaching, when I'm giving solutions, or this would be the best thing for you to, my mind used to argue with everything that would come out of my mouth.
Especially in meditation.
Right,
Especially
everything.
In meditation, yeah.
And now that rarely happens. Now there's just more of a channeling flow of consciousness. But I know that if my mind is disagreeing with it, it's absolutely the right decision, number one. And number two, my mind needs to be quiet. That's what the mind needs. Unless we're doing something logical, our minds need to be quiet so that we can align to a different aspect of ourselves, the higher vibration of our true magnificence, our God consciousness. That's, we are wanting to do in a physical reality.
Exactly. It's the frequency that we're. I think it's you have to experience it because it doesn't make logical sense. This makes no sense whatsoever. The show, me as the host, on paper makes no sense. There's no logic behind any of this, any of it. But yet, the experience of it makes sense. And that's why my mind has kind of just said, okay, it's given up as far as this is concerned because it's grabbing onto things that it can hold on to. Like, okay, we have a studio now. Oh, okay, we have so many subscribers now. Okay, we have this kind of revenue coming in. Okay, great. We can do this kind of thing. And it's holding on to the only things it can hold on to.
Right.
And it allows it to go without much fuss because the machine is working for it to make sense.
Right.
Because if not, this is insane. Everything we're talking about, if we're talking about vibes and frequency, man, it's so cool. It makes no sense on a logical standpoint, but on a feeling standpoint, that's where people are getting lost. If you meet somebody and you go, ugh, I gotta take a shower after I talk to that person. Right. I'm sure many women have walked into a bar and the guy's like, "Hey, baby," and they afterwards like, "Oh God," because they could feel the energy of what that guy was thinking about before they tried to pick him up.
Right.
We've all felt it. We've all had gut experiences.
Yes.
That is what should be leading us. But that's scary because I can't hold on to it.
Right. And as you finite that, you don't even have to wait till it feels yucky. You just go, oh, I'm not supposed to be over. Oh, I'm supposed to be across the street. Oh, okay. That's how you find the perfect next home, the great new job, the wonderful new friends. Your vibration just gets fine-tuned at such it's very fast, High frequency energy is very, very quick. Yeah. It's light, but it's very, very fast. Mm-hmm. Almost phonetic in a way of its speed, but it feels softer and calmer and more relaxed. It's beautiful.
Can I tell you what happened to me one day here in the studio? We've had many channelers come in and we have entities being channeled in the studio all the time. So the energy, when you walked in, you felt.
Oh, it felt great.
You feel there's something going on in the room now. And I had I guess her name's Genevieve. She channeled the Buddha. Mm-hmm. And I had never had Buddha on the show. But that day,
are you sure?
Well, maybe I had, but I had never.
I'm thinking you have.
I'm sure Buddha might have been somewhere.
I think you have.
But I had never had
more consciousness of it.
Of the Buddha consciousness had never come in. Now that day, I was really deathly ill. If you go back to that episode, I was like about to go under for 7 days. Like after that interview, I was in bed for 7 days. Wow. So I was barely holding on. I was kind of like asking the channel question. I'm like, just keep talking. I can't. Like I was really in bad shape. And then Buddha shows up, and all of a sudden, the energy that you just spoke about, this kinetic yet calm energy, filled the room. I've never felt that before.
Amazing.
And it was like, but peaceful and calm. It was like the counter. It was like it made no sense.
Right.
Because if it's energetic, it's coffee, caffeine. But it wasn't. It was like meditation. It was the weirdest feeling. And you could literally see me in the interview go, and I sat and had this beautiful conversation with Buddha. And the second he left, I was like, oh, in this exact chair I'm sitting in. But that energy, I know what you're talking about because of that experience. Because it's that high level of energy that came into the room is exactly that, phonetic, but calm.
Right.
That's why you see these masters, the spiritual masters, the yogis, the teachers, that they are calm.
They're calm.
They're calm, but energetic at the same time.
Right.
All of them.
Right.
All of them. You look at old videos or films of Yogananda. Mm-hmm. He had power, but he was always calm when he spoke. They're not nervous. They're not weak. They're not fearful. That energy doesn't exist in their field, right?
Right. Yeah, it's incredible. And that's what allows people to continue to thrive in their life regardless of what's happened or what's happening. So there's a population of people we haven't quite talked about yet. And that population of of those people are the people who really care about everything and care about everyone. And
Empaths.
right. Don't want anyone to suffer,
Of course.
Don't want anything terrible to happen. And of course, none of us want that, but it distracts them from their own growth and evolution of consciousness.
Oh, God, yes.
They are so worried about everything that's happening. And we think weird things are going to be happening that is going to even allow the empath to be even more concerned, more worried.
Wars and economic drive.
Right.
Yeah,
all
food,
kinds of
everything.
Right. All kinds of things are going to change. And again, we don't know exactly how it's going to change or when. That's very true.
But you are psychic. Go ahead.
So empathic people in their compassion and their generosity are going to have to stop waiting for everything to be okay in order for them to evolve. Because that's what they do. They put their own evolutionary process on hold, on the back burner. Well, wait till all the animals are safe. Well, wait till all the kids are okay. We're going to wait till all the women have the right health care. We're going to wait till everyone is safe in the entire world.
Yeah.
Well, that's a long, another swear word, wait. That's a long, long wait. And even though from a logical perspective, that doesn't seem like a healthy conversation. Of course, we want empathic people to care about others. And I'm actually not saying to get rid of it. Empaths can never stop caring, ever.
But in balance.
Pardon?
Balance.
They have to move into balance. They have to care about themselves as well and their own consciousness and their own vibration and their own frequency so that when they look out at the world, they don't trip over something and lower their vibration and get stuck in a frequency that doesn't give them the fulfillment and the joy that they want. Here's a weird example my guides gave me recently. When I was a nurse, and I worked in a hospital, and I opened up in a hospital to my psychic ability. I had that,
coming out of the closet.
Yes, a few years before. And we had patients in the hospital, like let's say someone has serious cardiac disease, or maybe they're a diabetic and they're in the hospital for months, sometimes getting well because they're really sick. And every disciplinarian is coming and they're educating them, diet, PT, OT, they're on medication. We're doing everything. We finally get them to a place where they're healthy. They can go home. We've given them all the instructions. We've spent hours and hours and hours at their bedside, happily, lovingly, joyfully. And this patient goes home, and then a few months later, you're walking down the hall, and that patient is back in the hospital. And I remember the first time it happened, I thought, oh, maybe they fractured a hip or they needed a knee replacement. I go in the room, I'm like, oh, Mr. Johnson, I'm so sorry you're back here. What happened? They're back in from the very same thing because they did not take care of themselves. They continued to eat food that was said, you can't eat high-fat food. Your cardiac...
Food had low vibration.
Yeah, the food had low vibration.
Well, that's true. I mean, there is food
it's
that has
true.
low frequency
Which
than
is
others.
something that will positively change on Earth, which is interesting. Very interesting. We will have a change in a positive way where food will have to be healthier. You can't have processed food and have people thrive and live. You can't eat it all the time. It can't be your...
Before you continue, one thing that I see that is positive in this new change that's happening is that there is a potential for the food system in the U.S.
Improve.
Because when I was in Europe or in Canada, the same product has 5 ingredients.
Yeah.
And when you come here, there's 40.
Right.
And most of them is color dye number 7 and all sorts of things you can't read. But yet it's the same food.
Yep.
Same brand.
Yep.
And so why are we getting screwed as Americans?
Because we're allowing it to happen.
Exactly.
And it's driven by greed.
GMOs, corn syrup, all that kind of
now,
stuff.
Now, you and I don't eat that food. And I never have. My mother was a strict organic. We had to buy our food sometimes in the basements of weird churches, and
You're a hippie.
Yeah, my mother and my father were hippies for sure. So... I go into this hospital room and I find out that this patient, we had a term and it doesn't sound very nice, but we called these patients frequent flyers because, and it wasn't meant to be disrespectful at all, but it was something like so that the staff could protect themselves because a lot of people who work in healthcare are very empathetic. They care deeply. They want people to be well. They want to do the best they can. Even if someone can't heal, they want to have them have the best time on earth and have the best resolution and all of those things. So what happens once you realize that you have a patient that's going to keep coming in the revolving door and they're not going to do anything to help their health. They're not going to follow any recommendation. They're not going to change their diet. They're not going to exercise. They're going to eat more sugar, and they're diabetic. You have to either, if you stay empathetic about it, you're just going to be so upset and so shocked and try everything again under the kitchen sink to help this person who probably needs therapy, who will refuses to go see a therapist because they have obviously a lot of self-worth is lacking significantly. But you change if you're willing to, where you still take care of them, but you don't allow yourself to be wounded or severely shooken up by their choices. And this is what empathic people have to do. They have to honor the choices that people are making. Still love people unconditionally and cherish them. And if they landed on your doorstep, open them up, give them a blanket and some food, of course, but not allow what happens when people make choices for their own lives to take the empath out of the game and on the sidelines for eternity. That has to stop.
Well, that's the thing and I love that you're saying this, because I think it's every time someone comes on the show, whatever needs to be said is said. Through the other side is going to come through on one of the other two sides, that these are messages that need to be put out into the world. And being an empath myself, I found balance surrounded by women my entire life. So that's why maybe I was just beaten down so much over my life that I'm just empathic naturally because of all the women I've been around most of my life. But the balance of it, and I've seen many people in my family who were empathic and they threw everything on their shoulders. Like, the world, the rainforests are burning.
Right.
Let me put it over here. The food, let me put it over here. People are starving over here. There's a war going on. And they just put all of it on. And how can they move? How can they evolve? But the key is that they need to understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is if you want to change the planet, right, you need to change yourself.
Exactly.
That's the best. In all honesty, it's one of the only major things you have control over.
True. Because
I can't change you. I can try to change you. I can sing and dance. I can put up a presentation on why you should change. But that's you're trying to reach someone from the logical mind, which it doesn't make sense. But when you reach them from this heart place, this vibration or frequency place, there's no defense against that. Mm-hmm. When people meet highly evolved, high frequency people, they won't even understand why they feel the way they do around them. And there's no defense against it because the logical mind is like the guard is left. Does that all make sense to you?
Completely. 100%. And I think one of the biggest confusions too is that the heart chakra is supposed to be neutral. Its highest vibration is a universal love, and universal love loves everything exactly the way it is. Everything exactly the way it is.
But let me ask you, Marie, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, even though I know there's no devil.
I agree with you, by the way.
Why would there be a creator? And this is a question since I was a child. Why is there a God that allows all this bad stuff to happen and bad things happen to good people, and the lion ate the gazelle and the gazelle was just trying to eat its little greens? Why does this lion have to come and eat it? All of this stuff, how can that be a just world? And it just triggered me when you said neutral in the heart. So I'd love to hear your thoughts of why, to answer the question, why can a God, a source, this all-loving, all-powerful thing that's created all of us, allow all of this chaos and war and hurt and all this stuff, not just on a human level, but, how many ants are killed today by exterminators or water or natural disasters that happen? How can right now there's forest fires going on in California.
Right. There's wars.
There's wars going on. Yeah. Hurricanes have been ravaging the world. How can they allow that? How can he or she allow it?
Well, there's multiple. I have several answers for you.
We have time.
Thank goodness. So one of it is God isn't a thing. Everything is God. You're God. I'm God. Every being on the planet is God. And what has happened is that we had a disillusionment of our consciousness. So when we're looking at things that are occurring in the world, and Earth is a very unique, vibrational area, right? There aren't that many physical realities in all of the cosmos. There's many more non-physical realities where you can't kill anything. You can't kill ants. It's like, right? It doesn't, because energy can't be destroyed.
Created or destroyed.
Right. So it, nobody kills anyone, right? But in a physical reality like this, what we're all learning to do is to believe that we're God. We're all part of the experience. And then the other aspect is this is not a permanent reality. Even glaciers don't want to stay here forever.
Nothing is permanent.
Right. Nothing is permanent. So in a physical reality, the way you move from one dimension to the next is that the body or the glacier or something has to die. It has to not be in existence. The physical form has to die, like the glacier has to melt. Right. So
for the water to go back up into this.
Right. So in this physical reality, when the gazelle is being eaten by the lion, it's because the gazelle wants to leave this dimension and go to a different frequency. Mm-hmm. That's what it wants. Because this is temporary and it's not permanent, we all want to go to a different frequency or vibration at some point. We all wanted to come here. We all knew what Earth was like. We were not confused about it. We knew that we would have a body. We knew that wars would exist here. We knew what the educational system was like. We knew everything before we came here. We were extremely conscious before we passed through the veil and come to the Earth realm. So we're waking up in these experiences to recognize that we are part of creation. We are part of God. And seeing the beauty within ourselves allows us to see the beauty even in the energy leaving a being, leaving a human being. I've sat at the bedside of many people as they've crossed.
So I was going to say, like, that sounds great for the gazelle. But when Grandpa John leaves, it's painful. So what do you say to people who are? I'm not yelling at. I'm sure at the screen right now, or yelling at their iPad that they're listening this thing on right now, because that sounds very philosophical, Marie.
Yeah.
And very beautiful and very, very esoteric.
Right.
But when Uncle Bob or Uncle John is gone, I feel that. And you're telling me that when, and I'm going to be.
Oh, I know. I love it.
I'm going to go down a hard road here.
Yeah.
Because I love you. So you mean to tell me when I lost a family member or a friend in a tragic accident or war, bombs are coming off, that those people were asking to leave? That is what people are going to be on the other side, listening to this, are asking that deep question. So tell me.
So it's coming to Earth or leaving Earth is a soul's decision. It's a big decision.
Yes.
It takes about, because the time doesn't exist, but about 4 years where you're on the other side, which I call the fifth dimension, sitting around the round table with God and archangels and your spirit guides council, that you've picked, right? Spirit council. And you're making determinations about when you're going to come to Earth, your gender, if you choose to have a gender, because that sometimes doesn't exactly happen when a baby's born, right? And what time you're going to come, because you can come in the future, you can come in the past, right? Time doesn't exist. So we even choose how we want to leave our bodies, because we know that something has to happen to our body before we leave.
So this is a soul blueprint, a soul plan.
It's a plan.
So this is either word. I use soul blueprint or soul
I say
plan.
Blueprints in the Akashic records. There's millions of them.
So what you're saying is that when we're on the other side, and I think this is pretty established at this point on the show, specifically, when you're on the other side, you're like, I want to incarnate, and I'm going to be, my name's going to be Marie. I'm going to go with this family. They're going to be hippies. It's going to be insane. I'm going to be eating
I'm going to
be eating raw milk from a church parking lot.
It's true.
I'll probably get sick, maybe. I don't know. So I'm going to go down this road. And then around this age, I'm going to start developing psychic abilities. And
hopefully.
You're going to come out publicly. It's going to be very difficult. And you're going to have to go through this.
It wasn't difficult for me, by the way.
I'm throwing all this stuff out. I'm just using it as an example. Then you're going to meet this guy, Alex. I'm going to be on his show. It's going to be wonderful. So all of this stuff is laid out in a plan.
It's really not that detailed, right? Like, because the strongest law in the universe is free will. Everyone has free will. Even when you incarnate, you have 5 exit routes. You can choose when you want to leave Earth. You may have one of those exits where you say, I hope it's when I'm 89, or some souls want to stay for a few days. I hope it's when I'm
a few hours.
Or a few hours, right? Or not come out of the womb, right? Not alive anyway. So you pick one, you go, I hope it's this one. This is the plan, this is the blueprint, but we all have free will. and we get to change our mind. So sometimes when we come to Earth, we go, okay, well, I've had enough, and I've already decided how I wanted to die. And we get excited about choosing
On the other side.
death,
On the
right?
other side.
On the other side, we get very excited, like, well, I haven't been shot in a while. Ooh, maybe a car accident. So part of the decision making is, do you want to go quick? Do you want to go slow? And I'm not kidding when I say this. As a psychic, I feel like I have near-death experiences all the time because I'm on the other side all the time communicating with souls and spirits. That's what also makes me very happy and extremely fulfilled. So there could be because of a past life experience where you died quickly and your family freaked out and it was really hard for them. You might go, okay, I'll linger this time. I'm
Give them a moment to process.
Yeah, I'm going to get cancer. It's going to be difficult to treat, but I'm going to linger for a while so that by the time I leave my body, there is some relief for them. They're like, okay, we didn't want them to go, but he was suffering. So, right? So we have that going on. That is 1,000% correct. And coming into a physical reality and leaving a physical reality is a sacred experience. Sacred experience. I don't know if I told you this story before. It's very related, so I can't remember, but maybe it's okay if I say it again.
Go ahead.
When I was a nurse again, and before I knew I was intuitive, one of my patients was very ill and was in a coma, was actually dying, was on hospice care, was a woman in her 80s. Her son was visiting her. He was staying in her apartment because I was working in a facility connected to a retirement center. And she moaned all the time. And he was very upset about it. And he assumed she was in pain. And we thought logically she probably wasn't because her vital signs were normal. She was getting some morphine. But we didn't know for sure. And it was like day 6. And she was, holding on. And I walked past her room and I thought she had passed away. And I was a little upset because I like to be with people when they're leaving. So I, walked quickly into her room, sat at her bed, and I put the stethoscope, pads in my ears and leaned over to auscultate her heart. And she woke up. She woke up. She kissed me. She hugged me. She told me she loved me. She said she was having so much fun. She was with her husband and her brother and her sister. And then she kissed me again and went back to sleep. She never woke up again. So this was part of the awakenings
I've heard this story before.
See?
Yeah, I've heard that story.
So we don't know exactly what people are experiencing at the time of their death, even if they are conscious. We don't know exactly.
I actually had a conversation with a intuitive the other day about this, about people who have dementia and have Alzheimer's.
Right.
And that I'm like, it's such a horrible disease from our point of view. She's like, yeah, I'd never feel that because they are not there anymore.
They're not.
And they go, do you ever wonder sometimes why people with those diseases last for
I know why.
For years?
I know why.
Tell me why.
Well, lots of reasons, really. But dementia, because I look at energy and all of that, dementia, which is a brain disease, is from people who've been in a significant denial and in a major part of their life. That's what creates brain diseases, whether it's a tumor or epilepsy or things of that nature. So maybe someone worked in a company for 40 years and they hated it and they went every day, and so it changes the vibration and the frequency of their brain matter and can lead to disease. But some people, the same people, don't always do inner work. They don't always do their inner work. So while they're still in physical form, and yet most of their energy is on the other side, they're having this back and forth. In fact, sometimes when I read for family members, I'll go, is your grandpa dead or do they have Alzheimer's? Because I see the energy that they're mostly on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're doing their inner work at that time. They're actually
working things out.
Right. Because and you don't have to do your inner work while you're in your body. Some people will wait until they get on the other side, and then during their life review, and they'll keep the life review tapes available to them. Right? I know. The universe always explains things to me as if it's human, because I love Earth so much, and I love humanity so much. So they will go over these and then do the inner work while they're on the other side, which is kind of a cool gig. It's probably easier. But the belief is, if you can do it here, it's deeply effective. Profoundly. Like if you can do it here, you change everything.
Yeah.
In profound ways.
So the idea that I've had is that when you're making that soul blueprint is like a roadmap on a highway, and there are off ramps that you've chosen They're like, hey, if I want to get off at 22, I'll get off at 22. If I want, and that's where near-death experiences happen. A lot of times they happen at these exit points where they stop and go, all right, do you want to go back or are we out? Is that, and that's where you kind of gave off. Now, from my understanding is, you're right. It's not laid out as detailed as I was laying it all out.
No.
But there are big mile markers that have to be hit in this life.
Well, you know what you remind me of is, because I didn't know I was going to be a psychic. A lot of my mom's friends thought they were psychic, and I think they were wackadoos. And I don't think that today I can tell you they were not very psychic, right? So I didn't want to.
Oh, because they were all hippies.
Yeah, they were all hippies, right? So my mom would drag us to channelers. I'm like, and I think I was right, actually, way back then. Like, I don't think they were really channeling. So I didn't want to be intuitive at all. I wanted to be normal. That's why I became a nurse, married an engineer, all of those things. Right. But so when I opened up, my guides told me they weren't sure what I was going to do. And so for a period of time, because I made the decision independently that I wanted to work in this field, which I love more than anything sometimes, I had an additional 27 guides had to come and be with me for a period of time, because my guides, apparently I've tried this before. Where I'm going to go to Earth, I'm going to be intuitive, and I didn't do it. Yeah. So sometimes that happens where your guide group has to change permanently or temporarily. In my case, it was temporarily for about 5 years. I had all these other guides helping me.
To make sure.
Well, to help me understand, right? And to gain the consciousness that I needed, because my other guides, lovely as they are and spiritual as they are, weren't really prepared for all the bandwidth of information that I needed to be able to intuitively and psychically experience.
Isn't it fascinating, this whole system? The system of the soul and coming down here and doing all that we are part of the job, part of the rules are that we forget. We forget everything. And then we start to feel and we start to feel certain things, and we feel this or feel like I'm going to be a musician, or I'm going to be in finance. Or I'm like, I feel that. It's a feeling. It's not logical. No. When you choose your career path logically, that's generally not a fun thing. This is not logical. At all. Being a filmmaker is absolutely not. It's one step away from running away with the circus. I mean, it really is. I mean, maybe
Good
being
to know. I didn't know that.
I mean, oh God, being a filmmaker is like running away with the circus. Like, especially coming from maybe if you lived in LA, it wasn't, but where I came from, it was essentially like you're running away with the circus. It made no sense. So I've been doing that most of my life, following my gut. Right. Logically, though. Right. When you pick things like that in your life, it usually doesn't go as well.
No, it does not.
If you go with your feeling more,
right,
then it works out better. What do you say right now to all of those people who are absolutely terrified, are the empaths that are so worried about the future, about all the causes and issues and things that are the potential of what's going to come? The fear. I mean, I saw all of this in 2016.
Oh, wow.
You remember? No, I didn't see all of this. I saw that in myself.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
And everybody, when 2016 happened, we like, the world is going to come to an end.
Right.
I'm not going to say it wasn't a rocky ride.
Yeah, but it didn't. Thank goodness.
Didn't. And then when 2020 happened, the world was literally coming to an end. And it didn't. So that also gives me solace. Right. Gives me peace. Right. That I go, you know what? I think we're going to be fine. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not going to be rocky.
I agree with you.
We're going to get out of this. And everyone I've talked to, and if you believe in the show and you believe in what we do, we're going to be okay. It's not going to be fun, but it will be okay.
And it might get better faster if people start to pay attention to their energy and start to pay attention to what they're feeling, not the fear. So fear is an illusion. Right, it's mind-made, and that's what keeps the earth realm and its low frequency and low vibration, is people are following the fear and then making poor decisions. So I think people need to be prepared. Like, I'm definitely going to, even though I'm not going to have any children soon, I'm definitely going to have Plan B in my house for anyone who needs it, right? So I might make sure that I have extra food in my house, extra water.
Toilet paper, obviously.
Toilet paper, right? Because that's what we had to do before, right?
Get a bidet. Get a bidet. It's so much nicer.
Right.
They're very inexpensive
Maybe
nowadays.
make sure I have a little bit of cash in my house, right?
Some gold bullion.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I'll check that out. I think Costco even sells gold bars or something like that, right? So I think you have to get prepared a little bit. I'm not saying go crazy. Don't need a bomb shelter, at least I hope not, all of those things. But I think you have to be a little prepared in some way. And then you need to work on your vibration. You need to work on your frequency, and you need to be honest with yourself. If you are doing things that don't make you happy, you do need to reevaluate it.
It's funny. One of our mutual friends, Deborah Silverman, who was on the show the other day, she was very worried about a lot of what was going to happen. And she was really worried about, and I actually said something to her, and I'd love to hear what you think of it. I go, you're worried about bad things happening, like catastrophic things happening in the world. And she's like, yeah, and it was kind of worrying her. And I go, well, you need to trust the process.
Right.
Trust that if you trust in Source or God, understand that there is a plan for all of this. And if you have a little bit of trust, let me ask you, how long have we had the nuclear bomb?
Oh.
We've had the bomb since World War II.
Long time.
There's only been 2 dropped, the first 2. Never since. We went through the Cold War.
Right.
The people were on the button.
Right.
We've gotten close a bunch of times, but yet it never happens. Not at a catastrophic ending of species event. So if it hasn't happened, it's probably a reason for that. Because trust me, between World War II and now, there's been many,
a lot of time,
many cray-crays,
right?
As the kids say, many cray-crays out there who were close to the button, and yet we haven't done it yet. So have some trust that it's going to work out.
And we don't just have humanity here. We have beings of light. We have aliens. We have archangels. We have Buddha, Christ. We have so many beings that are very attracted to and interested in the process of Earth because we're unique.
Well, we're the reality show of the universe. No question.
I think that's a great way to look at it. I think one of the reasons why we haven't had a nuclear problem like a war, we've had accidents, unfortunately, but we haven't had a war, is because I do think the multisensory world knows that nuclear energy in terms of weapons are very destructive, not just to this physical planet, but to the energies. It goes out for long, pathways. I'm sure you understand the science better than I do, but it's very catastrophic in that way. And so I believe that humanity has been well guided, if you will.
These beings on this wall right here, I believe that are watching all of us.
They are.
And there are many ascended masters in one group of beings who are watching over humanity. They are guardrails up to protect us from ourselves.
Right, absolutely.
They've child-proofed this damn planet. They've child-proofed humanity. I do truly believe that because, our consciousness has risen to a certain level where we can, and I know it's hard to explain this, be held responsible with the kind of power that we truly have. Mm-hmm. We've had the power to destroy ourselves for decades.
Yeah.
Decades.
And we're not the only country that has that too.
I'm not talking
all
about us.
of us.
I'm talking about humanity.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Humanity in general has had the power to destroy itself, and yet it has not.
Right.
So we have to believe that our consciousness has risen to a point where that's off the table because it's an end game. Mm-hmm. And I think even the craziest of the crazies understand that that's the end game. That's why Alexander the Great didn't have machine guns.
Right.
Because they couldn't have handled that, and we barely can handle it ourselves.
Right. It's true.
We're barely holding on.
Right.
Can you imagine? We would have destroyed if Genghis Khan would have had just a minute 10% of our military.
Probably everyone would have been killed
because he was killing the entire. I mean, he killed 10% of the planet.
That's huge.
You know what I mean? At the time, he killed 10% of the population, and then seeded the rest apparently because his genetics are everywhere. But that's why that didn't connect because frequency-wise, it didn't match. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. That I always tell people, I go, I have a scientific proof of how consciousness works and how frequency works, and I'll explain it to you. Every piece of technology that we have currently today has
Got a lot in this room.
there's a lot of stuff going on in this
Yeah.
room. But everything that we have has always been here.
True.
There wasn't a meteor with a magic power source that runs all of our technology.
Everything's already been created.
It's all here. The raw materials for every piece of technology that we have and will have in the future is here already. What has changed? Our ability to access the knowledge to create it.
Right.
Hence, the consciousness level has risen,
Right.
allowing us access to more of the universal knowledge base, the Akashic base, the
Absolutely.
Akashic field, to then create these things. And it's sped up so much. These last 150 years have been just gone like a rocket. We've done more in the last 10 years than we did in the last 50. The last 50 did more than the last 500.
Right.
And
It's
so on.
the speed,
It's
right.
exponential.
Right.
What will happen in the next 5 years will dwarf the last 50.
And that's probably why there's going to be some sort of restriction. You know, we've had freedoms that maybe we didn't recognize were unique or
Vital.
special, or, normal, right? And so some of those freedoms are going to be taken away. In what capacity, we don't know too. How long, but I do think the next 5 years are critical. That's why I thought it was very interesting you talked about 5 years. The next 5 years are going to be critical in terms of the consciousness of humanity. And it will have a positive effect. It will have a positive effect.
But like any good growth period in your life,
Yeah.
it's going to be a bit rough.
It might be a closet moment of deep wailing.
And only looking back, you and I we've walked this planet a little bit.
Yeah.
We've been around a bit.
Yeah.
And looking back on our lives, those moments that were so painful and so terrible at the moment are who made us who we are today. Do I want to go back there? No, I've already experienced it.
Well, you can't.
I can't. I've
Luckily.
done it. I'm done.
You can't go back.
But when you're in it, and I know a lot of people listening right now are in it, and it doesn't have to just be because of age. People could be in it in their 90s.
Sure.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all relative depending on your journey. But when you're in it, if you can appreciate, I know it's so difficult, but you can appreciate what's happening to you and why it's happening, then that might change the perception
Right.
of what is happening. I had issues when I was a kid. I was either bullied or I had physical issues or health issues
Right.
when I was a child. And you look back and you're like, oh, and when you're a kid, you kind of roll with the punches a lot more. You don't beat yourself up as much. But as you get older, you look back and you go, oh, okay, that's what did I learn from that? And maybe some of it was karmic. Who knows?
Right.
Some of it
Right.
was like, I just had to go through that in this life. But I just want people listening to
Well, I think you had those experiences early, as did I, to help prepare you for your conscious growth.
because you have to get that out of the way.
You have to get it out of the way. And it allows you to come to more of those dark night of the soul moments, so that because you can have smaller ones, you can have multiple ones. It's not just one typically.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Right. So yeah, all of those are necessary to help you to come to a place where you individualize. And that's what we need humans to do. They need to individuate. They cannot be like everyone else. They have to find their true source of consciousness, their true source of identity. They have to feel their frequency and their vibration and allow their magnificence to come through. Because as you said earlier, that's what allows
Great change.
Right, great change, and allows for positivity to be fed into the world, especially empaths. Empaths have this incredible, beautiful violet flame that rises up in them, especially when they're happy. So when they're happy, this flame, this light worker flame moves in their body. And when they have the flame activated, they send out beautiful, positive energy that also feeds them. It's not just a one-way street. It's a mutual exchange of incredible high frequency and consciousness and awareness and healing, incredible healing. But it comes from their joy, not from their sorrow of, I can't believe that happened, or, oh, I hope this never happens. You can't run the flame. You can't be the light worker if you aren't experiencing happiness.
Well, when there's people that you've met in life who are bubbly or happy all the time and you're not feeling that way, there's a lot of times that not you personally, but just in general, that people try to bring them down. Like, why they're so happy? Let's just try to knock them off a peg or two. When you have someone who's really in understanding who they are and their frequency, there's not really anything that anyone can do.
Right.
Like, you can't talk to a yogi who's a walking master and go, I think you're getting a little heavy there, man. You need to lay off the curry and the pan and the paninis, okay, please. It just wouldn't affect them. They'd laugh. They think it would be hilarious. Actually, I was saying something the other day on the show, which I thought it was hilarious, and I think it's still so funny. You've never heard a story of Jesus going, or Yogananda, or any of these ascended masters going, "Oh, I ate too much wine and bread last night. I feel bloated. Oh God, I'm retaining water. I look, you never saw Jesus go, oh, I look horrible today. Oh God, I usually have that ripped abs, but I don't, because that's the images I always saw. He's always in great shape, So he must have been keto, but you never.
I don't think there was a lot of food during that time
period.
Exactly.
But you never heard Yogananda like, too much curry last night. Oh God, I feel horrible. You don't hear those things from them because they're aligned at a level, at a frequency. It's like throwing a pebble at a rock at Gibraltar. Like they just, it makes no difference to them. And that's where you have to be.
Right.
Because there will be other energies and there will be other people.
Right. Always. There will always be something that could throw you off the track. Always. And so you have to strengthen that energy so that you can easily, like how you feel today, easily come back to that center, your beautiful violet flame of, light working energy. Even if you never work in the mystical realm, it doesn't matter. Light can be expanded as a barista in a coffee shop, and everyone
absolutely.
walks in. I love coffee shops. I always tell people, if for some reason my job dried up tomorrow, I would definitely go be a barista. So I can just say, hi, have a happy day. What can I get you?
You bring so much joy to the world.
Yeah, just bring so much joy to the world. Yeah, so anything could, like how you said, something on the road would trigger you. I noticed I have a cat, Finney. He's adorable. He's orange, but he's a whiner. And I, over the last few months, because I would just like, oh, Finn, stop whining. I'm opening the food right now. And he's overweight. I mean, he's not underfed. And lately I've been catching myself like, why am I letting this adorable orange kitty cat?
Don't get me started with the cat.
Who's 16 years old now, right?
My God.
Yeah, and he looks spray, he looks beautiful. And I'm like, why am I letting his meows affecting me? So I'm even refining my energy at something that's really mundane.
Oh, it makes nothing.
Right?
It really, in the grand scheme of things, it's just
nothing. But it is a practice where I'm refining my vibration.
Well, that's why he's there.
True. He's helping me.
He's there to teach you, as all of our animals are.
Right.
I have an a-hole in my house. I
have one of those too.
I love and adore him.
Aww.
I love
What's
and
his
adore
name?
him. His name's Nico.
Aww.
He's my wife's cat.
Aww.
I'm second in the command, and then the girls are they're different. But he's an absolute a-hole.
Wow.
And he teaches me lessons all the time. But he sends so much love.
Aww.
And he's so adorable and all this stuff. But I completely get you with the cats. They're just teaching you.
They are.
They're teaching you.
So we don't have to wait till a major catastrophic or potential problem happens. We have everyday moments where you can practice how to shift your vibration and your frequency, which your mind will tell you you're changing, you're ignoring something, and you're choosing to look at something else. However you want to experience it or describe it is perfectly fine. It doesn't matter. But you have opportunities constantly. What we are seeing happening on a global level, however it occurs, it is a massive opportunity, which I think the human race will actually accept and excel from. I do believe it will happen, but that's what's coming into our view. It's an opportunity. That's really all it is.
So then why in God's green heaven would you want to incarnate during this time? That's a lot of people listening are probably asking that question. Well, if I make my choices on the other side, why didn't I come in as someone who's like rich and lives in the south of France?
But you could have that.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. There's no devil. All of this stuff. Why would I do that? And then instead of and then maybe I would have incarnated at a different time. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of peace in about 50 to 100 years, let's say, and everyone's going to be really cool, and it's going to be a cool place to live. Why can't I come here? Why am I here in 2024?
Because there's something within you, a misperception that you have had about your destiny and your divinity, where you didn't believe that you are an irreplaceable part of God, of creation, of source. Like Atlantis is a perfect example of, Atlantis fell. People forget about that. It fell, it went into ego, and that's why it dissipated and left the Earth's atmosphere. Humans before had God-like abilities even. Like Hercules and other mythologies that we have are true stories that occurred. And so something within our belief system isn't aligned with our truth. And we've tried in other non-physical realities to change our perception. But there isn't as much, I'm so sorry, we aren't as motivated when you're in a non-physical reality.
Our life is good.
Right. Like you could go, I really want to work on my self-worth. Like I could be amazing, but I'm not really working on it. I somehow don't believe in myself.
I'll give you an analogy.
Okay.
It's kind of like when we're sitting down watching Netflix and you're like, I really need to go work out. I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. But there's a new Yellowstone just started. I gotta finish watching that new season. It's the same thing. You have to do it, but I feel so comfortable right now. I really don't need it.
Right.
So you're not motivated.
Right. You don't need food. You don't need housing. You don't need to procreate. You can go have fun. You could go paint the sky of whatever reality you've created any color you want to.
So this is the soul's gym.
Yes. That's a great way to describe it.
This is the soul's gym.
And that's why it's popular and well loved and watched over and cared for, because we go to creation, our higher selves, our soul, to God, whatever words you want to use. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to eradicate this misperception I have about myself. Because it's really about ourselves. That's really what we're learning to do, is to change our view and align to the authenticity of ourselves. And we literally say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And it's funny because people think they know what it is. They think, well, I know what God's going to do. They're going to do this, and then I'm going to grow. Well, no, it will never be what you think it will be. It will come out of left field. It will shock you. Yeah, right. It'll shock you beyond anything you could possibly imagine. And because you're in a physical reality, you can't just go off and paint the heavens the way you want it to be.
So it's kind of like be careful what you wish for. Almost, because once you're here, you're here.
Right.
And you're like, no, you're in the game now.
Right. You're in the game.
You're Mario and you got to save the princess. Sorry, you can't get out.
So some people who have already done, let's say, some aspect of evolution, that maybe it was their body, something happened to their body, and the universe knew that that's what was going to wake them up. Where that doesn't wake me up. If something happens to my body, I get excited. I'm like, ooh,
what's this?
Right. I get excited. I can't wait to learn new things. I'll go get therapy, whatever I need. I'm excited about it.
Is it interesting that I kind of look at things like that now? Like in general, like my life in general. I'm like, when something that's not on my plan happens, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let's see where this goes. I don't walk into fear. I don't walk into it with fear.
Right.
And it's not been, by the way, peaches and rainbows.
Right.
Even with this, it has not been peaches and rainbows.
Of course.
Over these last 3, it hasn't just been like, woohoo, party, it's the 20s again, 1920s. Right. So it wasn't always that way, but now I look at things like, oh, that didn't exactly go the way I wanted it to go. Well, what? I wonder why. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes when it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, it actually happens in a much better way 5 months down the line.
Right.
I didn't see it. I'm like,
right.
Oh, so that's what that is.
Right.
Oh, that's what that meant. Oh, that's what I had to do. Okay. So I have a much more trust in where things are going without fear, which is very unlike me. But I'm a director
right.
by nature, so I need to control. I've let go of that control to a certain extent. I still show up and I do the work, but I don't attach myself to outcome. I hope for outcomes I might want,
right.
but I also understand that my hopes and dreams a lot of times may not be what's best for me.
Right. And because you are able to stand in the present moment and believe in the nothingness, you attract the best outcome. So what has happened, and let's just say we'll look at the United States, is that people believe it's outside problems. It's the border. It's women's rights.
Economy.
It's the economy, right? Which is, crazy. They think it's an external aspect that is creating the problems in their life and creating the shortcomings that they're having and not allowing them to thrive.
It's outside of themselves.
Right. But it is not. It is within them. And that's what is fundamentally going to change in larger numbers than we've seen in a shorter period of time than we've seen. That's what's going to happen.
Unpack that a little bit, please. Can
What do you
go
mean?
Well, can you go down the rabbit hole a little bit on that? Because that's something that people listening need to hear. I want you to kind of rephrase that or go into it in another way, because I understand what you're trying to say, but it's such an important message that I think people listening need to understand it.
So again, we don't know what's going to happen, but we know change is coming.
And it's outside of us.
And it's outside of us.
And we have no control.
We have no control, right? No control.
Like the election. We put our vote in, but that's essentially all we could do.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Really?
Right. So all of that has happened, and it's going to even more different. It's going to change even more. And so people they're going to go, well, that's what I asked for. And it happened. What I wanted happened, but I'm not any happier. I don't feel any better. My family's not happier. I don't have any more money, right? Because money is also an energy. It's a vibration.
Absolutely.
So in order to attract wealth in one's life, which is the word I like better than the M word, I think.
Well, money is just,
It's a frequency, right? So what allows people to attract the wealth that gives them the financial freedom so that they can do whatever they want is really how they relate to the vibration of money. So here's what I teach, just so that you know. So you can't think about money and actually shift its vibration. Most people can't. You have to think of something different. So I teach all my students and my clients, and if I do personal readings, I can pinpoint what for them to focus on. So you actually have to find out what brings you personal, again, back to that word, high vibrational joy. It could be the sound of frogs, right? It could be fresh air on your face. Today or yesterday when I landed in Austin, walking into the airport and listening to live music.
I know. It
was amazing.
We have a pretty awesome.
Oh, you do? My energy just went bing.
It's a pretty awesome airport, I have to say.
So maybe it's music for someone. And so as you are about to grab your wallet and take out your card or cash, you have to think about the thing that makes you happy. That's you changing your relationship to the vibration of wealth. If you are like, oh, I wonder what my bills are, what my balance is in my bank account right now, or what the taxes are going to be next year, you're in low frequency, you're in low vibration. And as you connect to your wallet in that moment, as you grab your card out of your wallet, or if you open financial mail, or you're putting your online password onto your banking, if you're in that vibration, you are not attracting the high frequency of wealth. You have to think of something that brings you personal joy. For me, all I have to think about is subatomic particles. And you have to do this for the rest of your life. You have to, as you engage in anything, but certainly we're talking about wealth, because that apparently was part of the reason why we're having the experiences that we're having. It won't matter who's in office. It won't matter what the interest rates are in the world. It won't matter how much money is in the stock market. None of that really matters. It's about your vibration as you're relating to the frequency of wealth.
Beautifully said.
Oh, thank you.
Beautifully said. I mean, if you are, I want to use this analogy, when you want a partner in life and you're like, I need this, I need her, or I need him in my life to complete me.
Yeah.
I think you've been there. I've been there.
I have. Yes.
No question.
Yes.
And it never worked out well.
No.
Never worked out well.
No.
But the moment I just let go and I said, hey, I think it's time for me to love somebody and for someone to love me.
Yeah.
But I'm good myself.
Yeah.
That's when they showed up.
Right.
That's when they showed up. So same thing goes with money.
Right.
If you're just like,
everything.
I need it, I want it, I need to hoard it,
right.
That energy is so low vibration and so low frequency that it will just continue to just fall right out of your hands.
Right.
When you understand, it's so difficult. I know what I'm saying sounds so woo-woo, but it's so difficult when you're in it that when you're like, I got no money. I mean, I've been on the brink of bankruptcy.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, I literally was days away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was in days away when I was in my 20s to sign the paperwork.
But luckily you were 20.
No, I wasn't 20. I was like 27.
Okay, but still.
And that's a whole other story. But I was at the lowest part of my life. I mean,
Fascinating. A dark night of the soul.
oh, it was definitely a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of yell out to God. I'm like, you better help me. If not, I'm going to sign these papers. I'm like, I'll work, but you got to give me the opportunity.
Right.
Next day I got a job.
Aw.
It was just the way it worked. But I lost my train of thought while we were talking.
But we were talking about how it's so
letting go.
difficult.
Letting go. So when you're trying to grab onto money, it'll leave you because
Right.
you can't. It's like water. Trying to grab water, you can't grab water. You just can't. But when you're in that energy, it's so difficult to get out of that frequency.
It is.
That's why calming yourself, meditating, allows you to pull yourself out, even for moments, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. It allows you to pull yourself out of that energy.
Right.
And that hopefully slowly starts to pull you out to a place where you can let go and can trust the world.
Right.
And a lot of people listening are like, I've tried that and it doesn't work.
They haven't tried it long enough.
Because they're not only they haven't tried it long enough, but they're attaching outcome to
Right.
that, and it's not the way it
No.
is. You know, when I started the show, and I use the show as an example because it's probably one of the most insane things that's ever happened to me. I really had, when I started taking it seriously, had no attachment to outcome because it was an insane thing.
Right.
You know, it was insane for me to be doing the show.
Right.
How could I have an outcome? Like I need
Right.
1 million subscribers in 3 years. That's where we're at. We're almost at 1 million subscribers in 3 years. Thank you. But
It's amazing.
I use that as an example of the insanity of what it is. And I just said, no, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to grind. I'm going to do 3 or 4 episodes a week. I'm just going to keep building and going, and I'm not even going to worry about it. And then later that year, a little beep happened. I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, cool. I'm just going to keep going. And then the rocket took off. But it took about a year and change.
Well, I think what you are pointing out, which is critical and which I also think is probably the most significant thing a human being could ever learn to do, is to surrender. You have to surrender. You have to let go. You have to go, I can't look at what's going to happen because I don't know what's going to happen. I know what I desire. And I've worked really hard to create this, but whatever I'm doing, it's not working. And so now I have to put faith in the universe and subatomic particles. I'm going to align to my own vibration. I'm going to try not to get depressed or sad or think the sky is falling, even if it is, right? Because for many people, that's what gets them into the manifesting world, is really wealth, honestly, and finances. That's what attracts people to, all of that initially. So you have to surrender, but practice the principles while you let go.
But Maria, I want you to understand where I was at, and I want people listening to understand where I was at. I had 2 very successful podcasts in the filmmaking and screenwriting space. I was number 1 in both those spaces, and I was doing well financially.
Wow.
Not crazy by any stretch in the, not Joe Rogan.
Well, you're young. You were doing great.
It was not that young. I was over 40. But that was my livelihood. I'd shut down my post-production house. So I wasn't doing client work anymore.
Wow.
It was just 100% of my revenue to support my family was mixed up in this show, this company, these shows, these companies, and the online business I created. When I went into this world, it threatened this.
Wow.
In a very big way. If you've been in Hollywood, you're not missing anything. When you're in Hollywood, you couldn't talk about God or spirituality. It's very it's taboo. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Very liberal. About Hollywood
because it's such a creative.
Oh, they all talk about it quietly, but you can't publicly say, I prayed tonight, or I'm talking to God at night.
Wow.
You can't. It's just not. Listen to the Oscars. You never. Oh,
True.
thank God. But that's it. Like, thank God is one thing, but
That's true.
You never hear that.
No.
So this threatened that, and all I could see was that.
Wow.
So when I took the leap to go all in and wave the freak flag that I've been waving ever since,
Yeah.
it really was a jump into faith.
Right.
Of that, and I had the conversation with God and Source about it.
Right.
Because it's like I trust that you're going to take care of me and my family. It's not even about anything else. I was just like,
Right.
I just want my basics
Of course.
covered. I'm risking what I built for 7 years at the time. It took 7 years to build that up.
Wow.
And I just took that leap in faith, because let's say worst case scenario, I start this, I have a couple of psychics on, like you freaks on, and they say,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I would say that with all the love in the world.
Yeah, thank you.
I have these freaks on the show, let's say, and I have a channeler channeling Buddha on the show, and people from that world start seeing it like, Alex has lost his mind. Don't book any more guests on that show. He's gone crazy, and that whole world. Then my listeners on the other side, like, this Alex has lost his mind. It all starts to dwindle down to nothing, and this doesn't take off. This dies off. And now where am I?
Right.
I've now, in my mid to late 40s, have to start from scratch again and go back to work that I hated. That was what I was risking. I would have landed on my feet. I would have hustled. I would have worked.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been ideal. But it would have been a lot of pain, a lot of suffering going through. So that was what I was risking when launching this show. So I want people to understand that it's not all peaches and cream. You're going to have to make difficult decisions and also logical decisions. I had a wife who was working, so we weren't going to be desolate by taking a risk on this show.
Of course.
But it would have been hard.
But it was significant.
It was very significant.
But what I find interesting about your story, and thank you for taking the risk, and thank you for letting go, and thank you for surrendering, because I know how hard it is. It's hard. What people don't understand is why they continue to do things they don't like. That is the true suffering. The true suffering is doing stuff that doesn't make you happy. And I know they don't know that. Like, they're not conscious enough to recognize. They just know they don't feel good, and life isn't as fun, or it's hard, or they're mad at things. And so they join organizations so they can be even more mad, right?
Or they keep watching media, or they keep going down social media rabbit holes that just keep feeding into that anger.
Right.
Of course.
But their true source of dissatisfaction isn't any of these external things. It's about their alignment to their authentic self. And we're at a place on earth where many, many people that you talk to, that I talk to, and then a bunch of people who don't even know it yet, want to seriously, and they've said to God, to creation, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. That's what they have said. Mm-hmm. And so now we're moving into a place where there's more opportunity for that, for things to come to light that will help inspire their inner genius to come forward and reorganize their life so that they can be thriving and excited and delighted and lead ultimately to what we know will happen on Earth.
Future.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, and I'll quote Alan Watts the great Alan Watts. He said that in 100 years, there'll be strangers living in your house.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course. You don't think about that. But it's true. In 100 years, there'll be strangers living in your house. If anyone remembers your name, it will be a miracle.
Yeah, they won't.
Very few people.
Most humans don't really look at life authentically. They don't really.
They're stuck in this drama.
And they never even think of death. Like, I've talked to so many people, because I'm a medium as well, who've lost loved ones. And I'll get on the call because I choose not to know anything about a person's situation. I like to go and blank. That's where my strength is. And I'm like, so your partner died, but they were sick for 10 years. You knew they were going to die, right? And they're like, yes, but I'm still in complete shock. And I'm not saying anything against the grieving process, but it's as if humanity doesn't pay attention to what's really happening. And they're stuck in this really weird illusion of things that aren't happening, that are never going to happen. And now it's time for them to perhaps wake up and begin to experience the true reality of existence.
But we're all stuck in this drama. This is the thing that's this is so fascinating to me, that really we've been here for a blink, half a blink, humanity,
right,
on this planet, just on the planet. Let's not even talk about the universe.
Right.
On this planet, we've been here for a blink. And really, what are we, 2,000 years, let's say, in this
that
cycle?
We know of.
That we know of 2,000 years since the birth of Christ, let's say. But let's say we know we've been here longer, but let's say we've been here 250,000 years.
Great.
All right. The universe is 4.5 billion years old.
Wow.
We're 200, quote unquote.
Right.
We've been here 250,000 years. For realsies, we've been around for, let's say, 5,000 years. 6,000, 10,000 years.
Okay.
For realsies, let's say. Since the last ice age, before the Younger Dryas happened and Atlantis fell and all that stuff.
Sure.
All that stuff. Let's say 10,000, 12,000 years. That's even less than a blink. It's not even a grain of sand on the planet, really. It's nothing. And yet we're caught up about our ego, our legacy, our this. Do you think in just 5,000 years from now, okay? So when the pyramids were quote unquote built into the
with
future.
extraterrestrial help,
Obviously,
by the way.
Obviously.
Yeah.
In 5,000 years from this point, so it's the same distance from when the pyramids were built, quote unquote, to where we are now. So just that time period, how many people are going to remember Abraham Lincoln?
No one.
Genghis Khan?
No.
I
never think of Genghis Khan. I mean, you brought him up, but I've never thought about him.
Right. Jesus.
Right.
Buddha.
No.
In 5,000 years, do you think that will last? If we can even, let's say, hopefully make it to 5,000 years. But let's say 50,000 years.
Right.
100,000 years from now. Anything that we have done.
It won't exist.
It doesn't even matter.
Right.
It's the equivalent of playing a video game that you play for hours and hours. I played hundreds and thousands of hours when I was a kid, video games. And I played games.
I've never played one video game
and
ever
it's okay.
in my life.
It's fine. But when I was growing up, I played a lot of old school Nintendo. And I played thousands of hours of that just in there. And I spent so much time and I was building this and I was doing that. And I beat this boss and I was on that level. And all of that I've experienced and that is gone. There's no history of it.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. But when I was there,
it was everything.
it was everything. I needed to beat Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's punch. I needed to learn how to do that. And I did. But now it's gone. That's what we're going through. So I say all of this to show how insane we all are to do things that are not aligned with our true selves.
Right.
Who are not aligned with what makes us happy.
Yeah, you're missing the fun. You're missing the joy.
The point.
You don't get to go to bed grateful for every second that you had in the day. Even if someone stole your parking spot, you go, well, that's interesting. I guess I'm not supposed to park over here. And you park across the way and you run into someone you haven't seen in 20 years. And you're like, oh, that's why that happened. That's supposed to happen all day long and all the time. That's normal. Right. But I do think, because I didn't think we were going to get here in my lifetime. I really didn't. I did not think we were.
And you saw this a while ago.
Oh, you mean like
the whole thing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't.
The energetic level.
Right. I'm just like,
frequency change.
Humanity is,
we're ridiculous. We're never going to get there.
Right. And I was just so grateful I get to have this job. People are nice to me. No one's throwing rocks at my house. People who don't even believe in anything that I talk about have only been kind and loving to me. Maybe I can think of one or two people who were maybe slightly rude about something, maybe in the 30 years that I've been doing this. So I've just been like, I'm so lucky I get to do this thing and I can be weird and different. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't see humanity getting close to this. I just don't see it. But now I do.
Now you see it.
I do.
There's potential now.
I think it's beyond potential. I think it's absolutely going to happen.
So, Marie, what does 2025 look like for us? I know a lot of people are asking. I don't need specific. I mean, as a broad statement, a lot of people are asking for our consciousness, for where we're going to go.
Right.
Is there anything that you could give for people who are listening like this right now, who are just like this? I'm ready to take
And I
notes.
just got this information recently because I thought there was going to be a different outcome. I thought it was going to be more of a kumbaya, kind of experience. I think
it is for certain people.
It is. This is true. It will always be for those people who run their energy elevated. They live in a different reality. Sure. Right. And there are many people on earth living in all kinds of different realities.
Oh, yes, we know. We have seen social media.
Right. I wasn't talking about those, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
So I think it probably won't be as bad as everybody thinks it will be.
Okay. Good.
That's what I think.
Good.
But I do think there will be some shocking things. Maybe not for the empathic crew. I don't think they will be shocked. They will be disappointed as they are right now. They will, and hopefully they will listen to what you say in your podcast, what we're talking about today, that please don't let that distract you. Please. You've got to stay in alignment because that's what's going to help everyone evolve. But I do think there will be people who will be surprised that some of our freedoms will be taken away. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is going to.
Well, the writing's been on the wall.
But they didn't believe it, and they didn't think it was true, or they didn't think it mattered.
But they didn't think that we were going to have a pandemic that was going to shut down the planet for 3 months.
Yeah, well, really, in a way, years. I mean, it took us a while to...
Right. But literally physical, the whole planet shut down for, I think about it, was 3 weeks, 4 weeks, nothing moved. really.
So people who've, worked in medicine, or maybe I just see things that other people don't. I was always surprised we hadn't had a pandemic, that had been 100 years.
That's very true.
Where I'm like, oh, we're so lucky.
We haven't had one.
Okay, we're having one now.
We saw the Outbreak movie, right?
Right.
It's
I'm like, oh.
It's amazing we haven't
right.
died off
That's
already.
how I felt. That's how I felt. So I'm just like, of course, we're going to wear a mask. We're going to stay home. We're going to wash our hands. We're going to wipe everything down with alcohol. Of course, that's what you do.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some stuff.
There's going to be some stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then for the rest of this decade?
Ooh. Well, if things go the way it seems like they're going to go, just even astrologically speaking, with Pluto moving into Aquarius, that's a humanitarian vibration. That's a humanitarian frequency. I just think people are going to become kinder and start to become more accepting. And hopefully what that means, because you can't be accepting of others if you are not accepting of yourself. Ooh. So all the dissatisfaction and all the blame and all this has to be done and that has to be done is really happening because people are completely disappointed and unhappy with themselves. So they have to fall in love with themselves, which is an emotional experience. It's not a thought. It's like you loving your daughters, having pieces of that with yourself. Hopefully every day, every single day. So I think people are going to start to question their belief system and the choices that they've made.
Oh, they have been doing that, but now more so.
I think so. I don't think they have been enough. I don't. I think they've been blaming and shaming everyone else. And
I'm out of shape because of McDonald's. I'm out of shape because of In-N-Out. It's not my fault. It's everyone else's.
Right. It's kind of like the frequent flyer, although I mean no disrespect for someone who can't see that they could be healthier if they actually did eat better food. And there's a McDonald's maybe it's walking distance from my house. I'm shocked. There is a line around that building.
Every time. All time.
All day long.
All day.
I'm like, I can't even tell you the last time I had a Quarter Pounder. I was a kid, obviously. I don't remember what they taste like.
Oh, I haven't had one since I was a kid.
Right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, we never let our kids go there.
Oh, no, my kids have never. No.
So
but our McDonald's is not today's McDonald's.
Oh,
we actually had real meat.
Oh, I bet.
And real French fries. And now it's a whole other chemical mix up and stuff.
Right.
But it was the food was different in the 70s and 80s.
It wasn't GMO. Right?
It was none of that wasn't even a thing yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a whole bunch of people who are in that place that's normal. This is healthy. This is what I do for myself. That's a great example, by the way. Mm-hmm. So that's not very conscious. They're not listening to their body. They're not listening to their children's bodies. They're not thinking about their health long term or even the environment. Mm-hmm. So just waking up from that and go, wow, I don't think I'm supposed to eat McDonald's anymore. That's shocking.
And McDonald's is not a sponsor of this show, and nor will it be after this conversation.
No, sorry. I'm so sorry.
And we use McDonald's as a reference point of
as
all fast food.
Right, all fast food. I would agree. Agree.
They already had a movie. It's called Super Size Me. Watch that if you want to get into that.
It was a good movie, actually. I really like that movie. It was great. So we're going to have these wake ups that are going to seem simple, even if it's complicated and it's not as simple. Everyone's going to have a wake up. It may be something simple that wakes someone up. It's something that has always been there. It's always been a problem. It's not like the problem just appeared out of nowhere. It's all here already, but people are going to start to wake up and question things in a way they never have before.
Marie, I think this is the conversation that the world needs to hear right now. I truly, truly believe that. I think it's something that we all needed to hear. And that's why I think this conversation is so important for people to listen to, because it is something that there's so much fear, so much anger, turmoil in people's minds around the world, not just about our elections, but about in general.
Yes.
This conversation, I hope, is a beacon of light for people listening to it around the world. Because it's needed. So I appreciate you co-creating this with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and holding space for humanity.
Yes, thank you. Now I'm going to ask you those questions I ask all my guests.
Oh, I forget about those questions. What are they?
Exactly. So that's why I ask them.
Okay.
What is your definition of living a fulfilled life?
And I know this word is a cliche, but feeling joy, feeling happiness. To me, that is a fulfilled life. Of course, that means everything you do and experience to the best of your ability is fulfilling. It makes you happy. Like, I love what I do for work. I love having a dog. I love having this big, huge fireplace in my house that I can just flip on with a remote control and warm up the whole house. I love diversity. right? Like, so you have to figure out what inspires you. Like the gym that I go to is highly diverse. That's what gets me into the gym because I just love all the different languages and different shades of beautiful people in there. That's what makes me go to the gym. So you have to discover your own inner bliss and happiness. It's not going to look like anybody else's. It's a rainbow inside of all different types of experiences, and it's not supposed to look like everybody else's rainbow. Your rainbow is different. So you got to figure it out, try it on, sit on it, test it out. So that's what I think anyway.
If you had a chance to go back in time and speak to little Marie, what advice would you give her?
I do often, by the way. I think that's crucial. I tell her all the time how much I love her, and that she's doing a great job and that I'm proud of her. It's like my soul needs to hear, I'm proud of you.
Right.
Like for me, that's what I need. So I say that to her all the time.
How do you define God or source?
First of all, it's everything. It's this carpet. So it's energy, and everything is made out of energy. So I think God is everything. But if I were to describe it to someone who maybe didn't have a definition, I would say it's like a big ball of fire way out in the middle of the universe. And we are all smaller balls of fire that came from this big ball of fire. And we're learning to connect to this big ball of fire and live our true, authentic self.
What is love?
Well, it's very beautiful. It's highly unconditional. I'm going to tell you this one thing that I use when I'm trying to teach people self-love. I have a dog, Charles. And yes, I have kids and grandkids, but I hang out a lot with Charles because he's big. I have to walk him like 5 miles a day. So we're out on the trails a lot. And he's intact. And he's a big dog. He's tall. And his tail goes up like this, right? So I walk behind him because he pulls me, basically. So I look at him and I'm seeing his butthole and his testicles swaying as he's walking.
The visual, ladies and gentlemen, is amazing. Go ahead.
And I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Right? And
Marie, we need to talk.
So I love him to pieces, and he's got curly hair. So there's curly hair all over this whole image that I'm giving you. But to me, that's when you can look at something that nobody else would think is beautiful. Nobody else thinks is special, or whatever. And all you are is wrapped up in the love of something very simplistic and in the present moment, because real love is in the present moment. It's not in the future. It's not in the past. It's in the moment, like this moment. One of the things, I always look around my environment. I'm very visual, and this studio is gorgeous. But the wood on this table, it's really quite beautiful. So I've looked down at it, while we've been talking. So it's finding something that makes no sense in the present moment that lights you up and on fire and has you smile and giggle and be so grateful for whatever you're doing, even looking at a dog's backside.
I was about to say, out of, I think now we've done 530 or 40 episodes, no one has ever said that balls of a dog and his anus are the point of the answer to love. So thank you for that. I think everyone needed to hear that. And what is the ultimate purpose of this life?
Oh, God. I honestly, I think you have to fall in love with yourself. You're God, so you can't really love creation or the universe or whatever you think is, goddesses without loving yourself. So I think falling in love with oneself authentically, which is not ego, right? Ego has nothing to do with loving oneself or valuing oneself or appreciating oneself. Ego is only one thing, it's fear. So anytime you are fearing something, that's when we're dancing with our ego. But when we can authentically appreciate and value our God selves, that's what I think.
Beautiful answer. Now, where can people find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing?
You can go to energyintuitive.com or mariemanucherry.com, get you to the same place. I teach a lot of classes. That's really a great way to connect with me. I also have a podcast, right? And I answer people. People leave a voicemail. We play the voicemail on my podcast. I talk for like a half an hour first, and then I answer questions from people all over the world, many of them from Next Level Soul.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
a lot.
amazing.
They bring you up almost every podcast and say, we love Alex.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
They do.
That's beautiful. And do you have any parting messages for the audience?
Just be grateful that you're here. Be grateful that you have everything you need to move forward in this next adventure that we're going to have while we embody a physical reality. And that there may be people that you might have to hold their hand or hug them or kiss them, or you might need that too. And that we can all do that for each other, hold light for others and let others hold light for us, not just now, but forever, always.
Marie, this has been such a joy and such a pleasure, not only having you in studio, but this conversation. I think it's so timely for what we need to hear right now. So I appreciate you and everything you're doing to awaken this planet. So thank you, my dear.
You're welcome. And thank you too so much, Alex. Exactly everything you said back to you as well.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.